Hello, everyone. This is Jonathan Little back with the second part of the very first episode of WeeklyPokerHand.com, the new podcast where I go over a poker hand each week and analyze both my play and my opponent's play. And in this part of the video, I'll be analyzing my opponent's play. I am Jay Cardshark here, and we're against F. De Bruin. So let's check out his play here with Ace-7 of spades. Right here on the button, when facing a min raise from a relatively aggressive player, I think calling with Ace-7 suited is okay. I think he's actually better off re-raising here, though. I would much prefer a re-raise to around 2,400 with the intention of folding if I shove. And what that does with hands like Ace-7 and any Ace-X hand is that it puts your opponent in a really tricky spot, because if I'm, say, Jay Cardshark sitting over there with Ace-10, he's probably just going to have to fold. And it's also going to let you avoid tricky post-flop situations where you flop something like top pair. So right here, I would much prefer a re-raise instead of a call from F. De Bruin for that reason. Or he could fold. I think folding is not absurd. A lot of players will think, oh, you have Ace-7 suited on the button, you have to call. But that is certainly not true. Just because you have a hand that looks like it has some value does not mean you have to play it. An example of that is something like a small pair under the gun. You do not have to play pocket fives under the gun, for example, when you have 20 big blinds. It's actually going to be a losing play on average. So anyways, he calls. I bet 1,500 chips on the flop, and my opponent decides to call. And I actually do not think this is that bad. And the reason I think this is not that bad is because my opponent does have a lot of backdoor flush draws and straight draws. Notice any 8, 5, 3, or spade will give him a decent hand to continue with on the turn. And also, an ace could easily give him the best hand, or maybe even a 7. Little does he know I'm sitting over here with ace-queen, and all of his pair outs are stone dead. And he's drawing to backdoor flush or straight. But I actually don't think a float here is that bad. If he was to raise the flop, he doesn't really have a whole lot of equity. Let's go back to the flop bet. Notice when I bet 1,500, if he makes it, say, 3,500, not a whole lot of good can come, because he's going to end up having to bet a decent amount on the river, and that's not, or a decent amount on the turn, and then probably commit himself on the river, and that's not really what he wants to do here. So if he's going to do anything besides fold, I think calling is the only option. And he actually gets the most beautiful turn card in the deck. And I guess a 5 of spades would have been a little bit better, but can't be greedy. I check, and he decides to go ahead and bet, and I actually like this bet. I think if I do not have a queen, I'm going to find a fold here a lot of the time. I may continue with pocket fives, and against pocket fives, F. De Bruin has plenty of equity. So I actually don't hate this bet at all, and I think this is pretty good. If I did decide to float the flop like he did, I would certainly bet this turn. The river's the king, and this is sort of the nail in the coffin of F. De Bruin, because it's going to force him to bluff. Even though, in reality, this is not a great bluff card, because F. De Bruin really should not have a king that often at all. And because of that, if Jay Cardshark is competent, which I am competent, I'm going to find a call here with any queen. And I think a queen makes up a lot of my range when I bet the flop and then check call the turn. Granted, I don't think he thinks I have ace-queen. I probably have something like queen 10 or queen jack, which may find a fold. I mean, I won't find a fold, but some people may. And because of that, these overcards really induce people to bluff. And if I'm sitting in F. De Bruin spot, I'm not going to lie, I'd probably go ahead and find a bluff as well, but it's really not the greatest bluff card, even though it looks good, because it is a big, scary king, and a lot of the draws miss. So it's a tricky spot, because also something worth mentioning is that because the draws miss, Jay Cardshark's going to be much more willing to look F. De Bruin up with a queen. And I really don't think Jay Cardshark's going to have anything besides a queen or, like I said, pocket fives, which I guess I would fold pocket fives here to a shove. So anyways, F. De Bruin goes all in, and I find a call with ace-queen. Something worth thinking about here, though, is it smarter, instead of shoving, to bet something like 4,000 on the river? And I think the fold equity you're going to get by betting 4,000 is almost equal to the fold equity you're going to get by shoving against a good player. because if what am I trying to say? I have pocket fives here. I'm going to fold to pretty much any bets. And if I have something like 7-6 I got stubborn with, I'm probably going to fold to any bet as well. So I think betting that extra 8,000 chips really doesn't accomplish too much because I'm still going to call with any queen regardless of how much he bets. And because of that, I think betting small here on the river is a better bet than an all-in. Anyways, though, I think where F. DeBruin really messed up was way back here pre-flop. And a lot of players don't really think that pre-flop decisions matter that much. But whenever you're playing shallow stacked poker, your pre-flop decisions are extraordinarily important. So you need to make sure you're playing well pre-flop. And the way this entire situation could have been avoided would be to just re-raise pre-flop. And that would have ended the situation, or he would have got shoved on and he could have easily folded to a shove. So that's my main complaint with the hand. And also the river shove instead of a smallish type bluff to try to get me off my weaker hands. Even though I do think on the river the bluff is not really that great, seeing that I'm probably never folding a queen. So if you guys have any questions or comments about this weekly poker hand, feel free to email me at support@jonathanlittlesecrets.com. And be sure to check back next week. This has been Jonathan Little. Thanks for watching.